One, two, three. Yes, we are live.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Factors.ai uh, webinar or LinkedIn Live. Today, we have a special guest, Mohit Garg. Mohit is a close friend for almost a year. We partner with them. We have been working with them for almost like 6, 7 months, Mohit, on multiple set of projects. And we are here to talk about one of the key items within regarding GTM and AI in GTM. This is a topic which is close to our hearts, both at Factors.ai, given the products which we build for go-to-market and how AI can affect go-to-market. And also something is like, this is something which has emerged in the last 1 year. So something which is like more current and how companies, specifically B2B companies, can use AI to kind of 2x or 3x their GTM and not just get confused with just general buzzwords and other things, and get to the details of like how exactly they can implement AI into their GTM operations is what we are going to discuss here. Once again, just a very brief introduction. Factors.ai solves for AI-powered go-to-market, very specifically around like account intelligence, attribution, and ABM activation. That's what we solve for. And we have Mohit Garg from Tapestro joining us. Mohit, if you can please introduce here and also get started, it'll be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, thanks, Sri. Super excited to be here. I think Sri and me, we've been talking about how this space has evolved over the last, like every day actually new things are emerging. But we also see how we need to be grounded in real use cases, in real value that we can drive for our customers. Right. Brief introduction about me before we jump into more details. I have been working in the customer experience space for past decade plus. Right prior to this, I was running product at Adobe for Adobe's customer data platform product, and that was my initiation into data-driven marketing, especially on the B2C side of the world. Right, and we are here in Tapestro applying similar concepts to the B2B world. How do we unify data? How do we bring together multiple sources of data to build interesting prospect profiles, and then also be able to activate, orchestrate them across multiple channels. And obviously, AI is native to what we do. We'll talk about some use cases and also show you a brief, peek into the product.
That would be great, Mohit. Of course, for the audience here, Mohit is ex senior exec in the product side with Adobe. So he has tons of experience specifically around marketing and marketing tech and GTM orchestration. So all of this has then come back and distilled into what we see in Tapestro. We are excited to see the use cases which you are going to talk about, Mohit, and also kind of insights on like what worked, what doesn't work, and what are the kind of things like pitfalls which people can go into when they look at like running AI on go-to-market.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, should we jump in, Sri, or is there?
Yes.
Okay,
Let's just jump in. I think I'll just add the presentation onto the screen and then we can just get into the real stuff rather than.
Yeah. And how much time do we have? I just want to be.
We have 45 minutes.
45 minutes. Okay. Good. Let me know when you guys can see my screen.
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I think, thank you again. So we'll briefly talk about Tapestro as to what we are intending to solve for. At a very high level, think of, we'll focus today on top of funnel kind of use cases focused on B2B companies. So companies selling to other businesses looking to expand their lead gen, demand gen capabilities using multiple signals and how do you orchestrate them, across different channels.
Got it.
Right. So this is one way of looking at Tapestro.
Wow.
Right? On the left, we have different signals. We'll talk about this in more detail. On the right, we have different actions that one could take, right? And in the middle is where the orchestration magic happens.
So can you just, if I may ask, can you just deep dive into like what are the kind of public data which comes in, and including the second party and first party and third party data for the benefit of the audience? And this would also help us like what kind of companies which can actually benefit from this kind of agentic orchestration.
Absolutely, right. So on the left, let's talk about the different signals that come in, right? So website visitors at the account level, I think Factors is absolutely placed here, right? So we partner with Factors, and our customers, we see a lot of them use Factors data. It basically tells you companies visiting your website, even without them having filled up a form, right? So you can look at your funnel above your form fills and essentially understand what's happening and take action there. Public data that we look at in Tapestro is job postings. So who's hiring for what kind of roles, right? Job changes, champions in your CRM who have recently changed jobs, and so on, right? So a lot of this information can be used to understand what's happening in your target accounts, in your current customers, and then look at what actions you want to take, right? Traditionally, this has been extremely tedious because you've had to have armies of SDRs or BDRs who are essentially going and scouting around this information. And then once you see a signal, then the actioning on that signal also becomes extremely hard because you have to take several decisions as part of any of those steps. Sri, you have a point?
No, I totally agree. I was just basically mentally seeing through this, like this is some problem which people do see it day in and day out. So I'm sorry because I just bumped up in terms of excitement, but yeah, please do continue.
Yeah. So I think the idea for Tapestro is bring together multiple signals, whether it is first party. So first party data is essentially data which you as an organization provide, and then you enrich it with third party context, right? That gives you more insights about your visitors and your data. For example, people visiting your website is your first party data, but when you enrich it with third party context, like in the case of Factors, right? So that data becomes, you can basically light up. In your first party context, you just see anonymous visitors, but when you add Factors to it, you see actually those anonymous visitors become companies, right? So it's suddenly lit up. So you've now gained new insight, new visibility into first party data by combining that with other information from Factors. And similarly, what we also see is more deeper first party data, things like your CRM deals, past deals, lost deals. These are very interesting I would say minds of potential prospects because these people have spoken to you in the past. They may not have had the opportunity to work with you, but then things change, things evolve, right? So it's always a good idea to keep re-engaging at certain cadences. But the challenge is most sales teams, most SDR teams are looking for the net new customer. So they typically miss out on this kind of data. So independent of how you run your operations, this is a data source that I would highly recommend everyone to pick up.
Got it.
Right. The other.
I'm pretty keen on the public data. What other public data can actually give, and how does it make it more contextual?
Yeah. So the other kind of data sources that we are looking at is news, right? So news is a very interesting source of data. We see a lot of customers of ours, pick up and scout around newsletters and different news articles, track certain kinds of news. But so far, all that data, all that news information has been like like a pull, right? You go and search for a certain kind of news, or search for news about a certain company. And that's tedious, that's manual, right? It takes hours to actually find a needle in that haystack. We invert the model. We basically say that we continue to listen to different kinds of news, and we keep track of what specific news you are interested in. And once you pick that news, you take an action on that. Like I'll give you a really customer example here, right? So one of our customers, they were selling to VC funds, PE funds, so essentially investment research for these funds, right? And they wanted to reach out to the fund when the fund raises a fund. And the fundraising a fund is a news event, right? So their sales team is tracking all that news event. Now we came in, we were able to automate that process for them because from the news capture to the news identification of whether this is a relevant news, is a relevant fund, because they had other criteria on the fund's qualification. The fund should be
So
X.
one thing which is a question which when people even come across AI and when they come across agents is like every company's GTM works uniquely, specifically around the kind of specific data sources they get. For example, as you said, a VC or a very specific, like when they are raising a funds, that might be kind of relevant. For HR software or something is like whenever they are raising up or like kind of like companies growing or when they have just raised kind of a new fundraise or like they have announced a new CRO or something, that might be a right time or something. For a different company, let's say even a fintech company can be a totally different kind of a use case when there's a regulatory change or something of that sort.
Okay.
And one question which comes back is like earlier, each of them used to be kind of like very specific, unique, custom made workflows, which would be actually developed by the internal RevOps team or something. How does this change with AI?
Oh,
Can
absolutely.
this be something which is like completely flexible? Because that's something which people are kind of aware. Like, I mean, like if I have to build a custom implementation and other the thing with my context and other the thing, which means one, both time from me, a prompt engineer from me, more cost, more this thing. Does anything of this change with AI is something which people do want to ask?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Shri. I think AI is still evolving. So, but in the end goal everybody is chasing is, hey, I put a prompt and the entire orchestration happens for me, and it keeps running, every day at some cadence, right? But the world is not there yet, right? The AI agents are not developed enough to be able to understand all this, because this is, if you look at this whole world here, it's a combination of a lot of complexity. You have third party data, you have first party data, you have second party data. You have to understand their data models. Then you have your own logic, right, around what's your ICP definition, what's your definition of a specific segment, what's your definition of a content, right? So all of that thing, and then there are different channels coming together, right? So from a multi-signal, multi-channel, multi-segment world, the complexity here is fairly non-trivial, and therefore, at least today, AI agents are at least black box AI agents do not work. What we've seen work is the ability to build out detailed orchestrations. I'll show you a quick a demo quickly in a few minutes, and that is what we've seen, where you can think in a structured way, put your steps, and certain of the steps are AI steps which work on unstructured data. Certain steps are steps which work on structured data, and the combination of that yields very interesting results.
I'm excited to see like how you combine that unstructured and structured data into something which can signals and also the orchestration to get into flows. Please.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So we'll jump to that, but we'll take one customer example, right? And then we'll show you the product within.
And this is something which we'll also be taking snippets and also sharing with the rest of the viewers and also into our YouTube, so that people can see a case study of how multiple data sources and the GTM orchestration can come together with a product like Tapestry. And that's something.
Absolutely. Right. So this example is a SaaS company, right? They were spending a lot of money on paid ads, plus they had some good organic traffic. The goal was to increase return on ad spend by retargeting website visitors, right? So the traditional way is to obviously put more money and spend more on the retargeting ads. You should always do that, but there are other channels as well to continue to improve your return on investment. Their tech stack was obviously, they were using Factors AI as the website visitor de-anonymization technology. They had HubSpot as their CRM and had some files as well, which they were bringing in. On the channel side, they wanted to do email with Smart Lead. They wanted to do LinkedIn automation with Sales Robot and paid ads, and obviously had some calling capabilities for their team to call. So basically prioritize which accounts to go after on a call basis. So what we basically did was
this is like a complete 360-degree level kind of orchestration where like there is a surround sound effect created across email, LinkedIn. I think Smart Sales Robot would be more like a LinkedIn direct outreach and messaging, which is there, and also with paid ads where ads are shown, plus also a calling as well where the same users is also being called in different directions, so that this generates some kind of an output.
Absolutely. So these are 4 different channels here. From LinkedIn automation to paid ads to calls to email. Right. So this is a true multi-channel orchestration happening from a single source of signals. Right. And in the middle, you have, as part of the orchestration, you have AI agents running. You have, integration with the waterfall of sources for enrichment, checking in various email validation steps as well. Right. Net, what we essentially ended up doing was we created 20 microsegments for them from this data as came in. And these microsegments were basically by industry, by persona, right, by what pages they visited, and so on. So if you have 3 different pages on your website which are different categories, think of pricing pages, product definition pages, or just a blog post, right? Based on that, you have different levels of intent that you can infer based on who visits those pages. Then you have things like what industry does the company belong to, and as you enrich and find prospects in those companies as part of the orchestration, you can also figure out, okay, what persona do they belong to, right? Are they a GTM person? Are they a founder? Are they an HR person? Procurement? And depending on that, your messaging would be very different, right? So, but if you can create these micro segments, and all of this can run in an automation 24/7, and obviously you can continue to iterate, tweak as you go along. The results we saw was very interesting, right? They increased their meetings bookings by 30% with the same ad spend, right? With no manual steps in the operation, in the orchestration, right? So essentially, they were able to derive a lot more value from their investment in the ads, in signals, and their channels that they were already investing in.
Got it. 30% more bookings. I think most companies will die for this, that too in this market.
It was it was a very interesting use case for us.
And what would be the cost of all these tools coming together? And also, what is the kind of time lag for this to kind of be fully operational? Because most companies say like, okay, this is 30% increase in leads, but is it something like where I just fit in and I get the output like a switch on something, or is it something like which needs to be done? There should be a certain kind of a discovery. Is there any kind of customization part in it? Is there any kind of like consulting part of it which also comes through?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So this is not a plug and play. It will never be, right? So the logic of segmentation, the messaging, the channels which work for your business will not work for some other business. The way to do this is to do it incrementally. What we see, where we see our customers get success, is you pick a end-to-end use case which includes a signal, certain segmentation, the decisioning, enrichment logic, and then certain channels, right? So pick one signal, one channel to begin with, start with that, and then iterate. And the iterations are essentially multiple dimensions there. One is you continue to improve your segmentation logic, and then you continue to add channels as you go forward. So it is very iterative, but to me, these iterations are actually what will become the GTM secret sauce for you. Right. So the fact that you've spent sufficient time understanding what data is coming in, who's your ICP, how do you segment, how do you identify your ICPs, right? What job titles make sense for your work? I think that is super critical to continue to iterate on. It is not a thing that you can dream up one day and expect results the next day.
Got it. And what would be the kind of time delays? Like, would it be like a 4 weeks project, or before things get started, will it be 8 weeks, or how does it look?
Yeah, I think getting started, at least with us, is fairly quick. We probably can get any new customer get up and running on these use cases in a week or 2 weeks to start seeing immediate things run, and then the iteration, I think, is where the more time is spent improving and continuing to because the other thing is, right, the market is also evolving over a period of time, right, in your world. So what decisions, what segments you go after today may also have to evolve. So it's not as if this is something you can just do once, because the interesting part was, prior to this automation, this was being done manually, and then there was no way to experiment and iterate, because any iteration you have to train your entire team, right? And that is where some of this just completely broke down. So I think this technology is for the first time giving you the capability to not just do it once, but continue to improve your process over a period of time.
That's pretty amazing. That's good. This is pretty interesting, and also it's a multi-channel workflow. This is for actually over the last 1 year, specifically after February, a lot of companies among our customers have been complaining that email alone doesn't work.
Homework, yes.
While they have to use multiple inboxes and also have a much lesser frequency for things to work. But parallelly, both the LinkedIn activation channel, ads coming as an ad cover on top of it, and also having calls and kind of this thing multi-channel orchestration as such is also helping us to actually get attention of the user at some level, because emails more or less gets ignored and it actually just gets into the junk side, which is
Absolutely.
there, and that's something which is interesting. And
No,
I also see quite a few other tools like Neverbounce by ZoomInfo, Visa, and Apollo, and other this thing. How do these tools also come in? And kind of like there are always some options also, right? X versus Y. There is also like Zero Bounds. There are also a few others. Apollo Visa is there. Then there is also even ZoomInfo for the data, Clay for the data, and other this thing. Any suggestions around those things?
yeah, so I
What
think
would be the right kind of tool set? Kind of this thing?
the way to look at your enrichment, so these are all enrichment tool sets, right? So if you see here, right, so these are all enrichment tool sets, and these are all the AI agentic, world here. So on the enrichment side, I think typically, which what at least what we have learned is a lot of companies already know what data works for them. Right, wherein you say, okay, I see my ICP data is best in, I don't know, Lucia, right, or some ZoomInfo, right, Visa, whatever, right. So if you have that set, at least in Tapestro, we allow you to bring your own integrations. But if you don't know an answer, or if you're looking for additional options to enrich in a waterfall way, we also have our own bouquet of partnerships, wherein you can just buy that through us. So in that case, you get a net benefit of sticking with your preferred vendor plus an expansion on top, where you may be missing out specific things. But we're also seeing is no one vendor works very well. A waterfall is absolutely needed. We are seeing, definitely seeing improvements, both in terms of finding prospects given an account, but also looking at account attributes or prospect attributes. You sometimes have to go across multiple vendors.
Got it. So that's great. Cool. I think we should get to the next set also, and that'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Just also one more thing. What's the scale of this company? How much were they spending, and how much does it cost? Kind of like, I do believe quite a few of our customers have multiple stages. It can be a seed stage startup, it can be a pre-seed startup, it can be a Series C company. So I just wanted to make sure that also the contextually they see that in the right.
Absolutely. Yeah, this one I think is a Series B plus company. There are there's basically sophistication in the processes as well, right? Like it's very hard to run multi for a seed stage company. And I would say, don't overcomplicate your GTM unless you have to. Right. So yeah.
Makes sense. That's great.
Yeah. This is another example. This is a manufacturing company. This is a very large manufacturing company. Now they are looking to essentially identify ICPs, right? And their ICP obviously is other manufacturing companies where they can sell their products to. Right. And their use case was very interesting. So they essentially got into ZoomInfo and downloaded 10,000 list of manufacturing companies from ZoomInfo. But they had a very specific definition of who their ICP is, and it used to take about 1.5 hours per account to actually go and research that account, and it's a very, very tedious process. The challenges basically was that ZoomInfo
1.5 hours for an account research.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was the time they were taking, because it was deep and it was across sources. Like even the data that we got from ZoomInfo, 40% of that data was not manufacturers. They were dealers and distributors of manufactured goods, not manufacturers. So they are not their ICP. So for some definition of manufacturing, maybe dealers are part of manufacturing, but for their definition of manufacturing, dealers were not part of the manufacturing set. Right? Then they had to focus on plastic and metal manufacturers. Right, not necessarily building material, wood, right, or concrete or whatever else, right. They had specific criteria on the geographical presence of the company. They had specific data sources to figure out where the company was importing from, so where they're sourcing from, right. Based on that, you were figuring out, okay, is this a better ICP or a lower ICP for me? essentially combining multiple data sources. So if you see, right, they were using a demand base for website. They were using HubSpot for their CRM, right? And they were relying on ZoomInfo. They liked ZoomInfo as a data source. And once we work with them post this, right, we automated all of this with the agents and the orchestration flow we have, the combination of structured and unstructured data. And they were able to profile thousands of accounts per week, right? So from what, like 20 accounts a week with this rate to thousands per week. And this basically gave them a big list of accounts to go after. So they ended up scaling their SDR team by generating a lot of pipeline.
Makes sense. So this is, but one thing which is actually pretty interesting is like you have multiple agents for each set of things, like whether it's a geographical presence or like focus on a specific manufacturing side and other thing. How do you orchestrate all these agents together as well? Is there kind of a master agent or a manager agent or something like?
Great question, Shri, right? So in our world, our orchestration canvas, we call it a journey. Each journey is a combination of multiple steps. Each of those steps could be a micro agent or role-based, right? Actually, let us jump into the product because I think we are also...
That'll be great. Yeah, we have time. We have another half an hour. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we can. So if you have half an hour, let's do one more use case. Then we'll get into product.
Yeah. That will be cool. Yeah.
So this is another example. This is a SaaS company. Now they were a sponsor to a very large event, right? And as part of their sponsorship benefits, they basically got a list of 40,000 event attendees.
Wow.
Right, huge opportunity. The challenge was that this list of data was very fuzzy. It had basically very, very minimalistic information, maybe the company name, as filled up in the form by the person who was the attendee, right? There's no standardization in the names there. Then they had things like the level of the person, like, manager level, C level, VP level, director level, whatever. And that's it, no other context. What they wanted to do, the ICP was very niche. They wanted to go after mortgage brokers in that set. Now, 40,000 attendees, finding mortgage brokers is a needle in a haystack, literally. Right? So in the traditional way, they would have either sent an email to everyone. And that also was hard because they only had company names, but let's say they did some stuff there. Right? And the idea there being post-event, you probably have like a 2-week window to follow up, to maintain recall. If you don't do that, it's probably people have lost the context. Right? So there was a time crunch here. What we essentially did was we again did build an orchestration for them. We enriched the account info, right, based on the fuzzy information we had. We ran an agent for customized industry classification. Mortgage brokers is a very interesting example. They are always misclassified. They are either classified into real estate because they are doing mortgages, or they are classified into finance. Right? Both are very broad categories, not your ICP. You continue to spam them, you waste your money, you waste your time, and you create, junk across the industry. Right? So being specific here was very interesting. We ended up basically finding about 300 ICP accounts in that 40,000 attendee data. And then obviously multi-channel orchestration.
This is very interesting, and this is something which a lot of people struggle with. They spend like $70,000, $100,000 to get a huge sponsor booth and other thing, and then they actually, it's most of the time what they're doing is they'll have a coffee machine or an ice cream vending machine, and they'll be like swiping or like getting those, scanning those badges, this thing, which is of no interest, and it's also don't know whether they are of ICP or not, whether that's someone to spend it, and sales people also get tired over the day. Here, you get the whole attendee list, and then you're also able to segregate and filter down into your ICP, which actually makes sense. Absolutely. Take that list and actually send personalized messages to them, or even specific offers to them. Set up meetings with them, make sure you have. Hence, from the 300 leads, even as like you get 10 customers, you get the ROI of that 100K back. Absolutely. In terms of as a marketing activity, which is there. And this is something which kind of like, it's a blind spot at multiple levels for a lot of companies. People do it manually. I have seen some companies like Reachdesk and others sending like they kind of manually filter to each of the conference attendee lists. They would have an Excel sheet or something. They'll open up a Google spreadsheet, go after each one person and all those things, send them a specific message or a hey reach sequence or even an email sequence, plus also giving a gift card or something like that so that they can attract them. But that is super manual and depends on how good the SDR manager is at that point in time, and also how good the thing. Here, this basically orchestrates this with agent and with a lot more relevance. In a sense, it helps the SDR to actually go and be energetic on the meeting to book the sales rather than kind of like working most of his time on the grunt work in terms of trying to find the right people and others. So this is pretty amazing.
Absolutely. And I think the other interesting part here is if you store this data, like in Tapestry, we store your profile as right? So next year, when the same conference comes, you can use this data to reach out to potential people who may be visiting again.
Again, and then asking whether the thing, and more importantly, you can also then filter out like who are the people who are the new people within the same companies or any other kind of like if they have moved companies, then also pitch to those companies and then kind of like do 1+1. And you also know your brand has actually reached so many people in some level. And then you can also do parallel brand targeting ads or even other outbound based motions for the same set for you to convert. And this is amazing, actually.
Yeah.
Anyways. I think it would be a good time to get into the demo because these use cases are very exciting. We just want to see like how it works in the product directly.
Yes. I will. Let me share my screen. Let me know when you can see.
Yeah. I'll just give me a second. I'll just check it. At the stage, I think it's there.
Okay, right. So this is the orchestration canvas that we have, right? So I'll walk you through an example.
Wow.
Right. So if you see, there's so many different nodes. Each of these branches that you see is a microsegment happening, and I'll walk you through step by step. The kind of capabilities and how we are merging third party, first party, and unstructured data in the same flow. Right. So this is basically saying in the last 7 days, we've received 98 signals from Factors. Factors gives you account level data. So these 98 signals are 98 accounts. Then we go in and into HubSpot, which is CRM. And we're saying, okay, filter out existing deals, filter out existing customers, and maybe filter out even competition. So these 98 accounts become 90 accounts. So eight accounts got filtered out as part of this step. Right. So far everything and all of this is running automated. You set it up and it just keeps running. Right. And you can keep monitoring. And we've merged if you see, it's very WYSIWYG what you see, what you get interface, where we have merged the actual orchestration reports, which is a count at each step, with the actual runs. Right. So it's basically you can look at it and even iterate. And see where you're getting drops, where you're not getting drops. It's very, very easy to debug in a very visual way. Right. So from active deals being filtered out from your CRM. So again, this is first party data, right? So if you see, we're basically merging first party data as part of a step. Then the next step, you say, okay, I want to enrich my account context information because I want certain specific fields coming in from Apollo. And you can have other tools here. You can use ZoomInfo. You can use your own vendor here. Then I also want to enrich it from LinkedIn, right? So again, like just as an example, it's a waterfall enrichment of the account. Then you're saying, okay, now I want to filter out based on the employee count. Right?
So account enrichment from the LinkedIn, can you add some more context around it? What exactly happens in it?
So this basically pulls in public information from the LinkedIn profile of the account.
Got it. You got it.
Right. So typically, we've seen people have different, I would say, trust in especially things like employee data, count of employees. Some people, believe LinkedIn is a better data because it's more up to date. Some people, yeah. So it's a call, that we all trust different sources. In this example, then we think, okay, now we want to filter out employees. Focus only on companies with employees less than 2,000. Right. So 90 accounts become 69 accounts. Then the AI steps start. Right. In this case, we are asking the AI a simple question: is this company a B2B company?
Got
Right?
it.
And this is our simple configuration here, where we are saying, hey, take the name, the website of the company, the description in Apollo, the LinkedIn description, right, and all the other things, because you've enriched that
Wow.
in the preceding step, and define your definition of B2B. So this is the definition that I gave to a B2B company. And sometimes you also saw, at least in Tapestro, investors visiting our website, so we don't want to reach out to them, right? So we added that as a filter, as a classification. But if you see here, you're not writing full prompts, right? It is just a simple classification question. You have you're not writing the full prompts, like read this, read that, right, and paste this, paste that into the prompt. The system takes care of all of this behind the scenes, right? So we have basically abstracted out the AI prompt exercise into this simple interface for you, and you can define your own things here. Right? I'll show you one more example of this. Right? And then you filter. So in this case, 69 companies become 46 accounts, right? So it's a drop of what, 23. Most likely those were not B2B companies. And then the next step we are doing is we are saying, okay, let's classify these into different industry segments. Like you saw SaaS company examples, manufacturing company examples in the slide that I shared. But what is a SaaS company is a very complicated thing to determine sometimes. Like, a lot of databases. Like if you go to LinkedIn, LinkedIn's profile for Etsy, Etsy.com. Etsy is a marketplace in the US. It's classified as software development, right? But if you are now going after companies, let's say you're a logistics company, right? You want to sell to Etsy. Etsy will never show up on a LinkedIn account search in your LinkedIn Sales Navigator, right? Because it's not classified as a marketplace or an e-commerce company. This is where custom industry classification comes in, right? So similar to the example of the B2B, not B2B company, here we are saying, okay, read some of this information, go to the website of the company, run this agent, and check if this is a manufacturing company, a SaaS company, services company, right, or others. And these are your definitions, right? The example of mortgage broker that we shared earlier is exactly a similar exercise here. Where you say mortgage brokers, which is this definition of mortgage brokers, right? So you can define very niche ICP checks. In the past, this has only been done manually because humans have had to go in and just read websites, read material, learn about the company. AI does a very good job behind the scenes to do this.
Got it. This makes a lot of sense.
Right. And then post that, now you're splitting. Now the segmentation starts, right? So if here you're saying you have a branch for services, split by industry, basically, right? Manufacturing and SaaS, right? So if you go to SaaS, for example, right? So every industry may have a different persona definition for you, right? Depending on who you sell to in that industry, because job titles are different, organizations are different, your pitch may be different, right? The value prop may be sitting to a different thing. And this is, for example, Tapistro's, sample target personas in SaaS companies.
Okay. That's great. Right? It's so detailed, and this is something like you can actually then configure the workflows in terms of what makes sense. And in a sense, it's like a kind of like a agentic plus very specifically for GTM.
Absolutely.
Where you can talk to the data, you can get multiple sources of data and then work on it.
Absolutely. Right. So here, if you see, we have inbuilt the bounce check as part of the process itself, right? So you don't have to go anywhere. And then we are saying, okay, the next step is, so from 20 accounts, which were SaaS companies, you get to 143 persons as part of this buying expansion. So now, before this, everything was in the account context. After this, everything is in the person context. Right. So, and then you say, now the other interesting thing is persona classification. Right. Even job titles are not the best way to classify personas. You have to look at other details. Humans do a great job, at this, but this AI agent here is simply is essentially in the previous examples we saw how do you classify companies. In this example, we think how do you classify personas, right? So this is your definition of the persona. This is the input that you give to the AI, right? And it's classifying them in different personas, and then you can have specific email campaigns, LinkedIn automation campaigns for different personas.
Got it.
Right? And this keeps running on a regular basis. This is similarly for manufacturing, for services, right? And you can and this all of this was just one signal. Not imagine running this across different signals, right? So these are different orchestrations, fairly detailed stuff that you can customize, but also go live very quickly. Right, and you can obviously see details of all the different signals coming in, the raw signals coming in, right? You can also go into each account here and see, okay, where this account came from, right? So if you see this company was B2B, right? All the different signals that you've received from this account over a period of time. So you can build out unique profiles and all the different activations or actions that you've taken on this account. Across channels. Right. So that's it. I'll just stop here.
No, this is super exciting because it has multiple structural points, and you also have a kind of, let's say, like what I would call maybe a mind map.
Yes.
In a sense, like how do you want to run an orchestration? It's something like, it's not like you take signals. From signals, you filter down signals, you segment signals, you add more details into the signals, then you push it into a certain kind of like this action or another action or this thing. All of this in a very clear, structured manner. This, which otherwise would have been so hard to do in even as like if it's a Zapier workflow or something like that. So
Yes.
kind of like you are giving a kind of like how a human would think in terms of like raw instructions. Those instructions are getting converted into very clear contextual actions around the signals. And in a sense, like the signals are, and the first party and second party data, the unique set and how you stitch them together is good. That's where I think something like Factors.ai come in, where like we provide unique signals. Then taking those signals with a kind of like a very kind of generic instructions, you're able to then customize them into a very clear, specific set of actions.
Yes.
In a sense, it's like if it's a very intelligent human being, you're not going to tell them like each and every part of the process of where he needs to take a turn, where it is. You just say like go to that place and then buy this and then come back. And he's going to figure out exactly like how to go, how to avoid a slippery slope or anything else. And in a sense, like this is what your agents are basically covering. And whatever the intelligence which they are building in comes automatically. And that's something which is pretty amazing to see.
Absolutely, Shri, right? I think as we have been designing this, right, our focus has been to break down the problem into multiple steps as a human would, right? And then pick those problems which an AI can solve best, and pick the problems which a standard, structured, computing paradigm will solve best. Combine them together and then orchestrate it. And we are very focused on GTM, so a lot of our things would be easy for people who are in the GTM world, right? Similar concepts, putting a lot of domain context, domain knowledge inside that whole effort.
That's great. And there is a question from Kartikeya, and I think it's best you answer it. It's on your product.
Yeah, absolutely right. This canvas planned and connected by a human, right? So we definitely have templates for you to start out with, but yes, it has to be done by a human. AI, we've been experimenting with AI generating something like this, but at least we've not found success yet. Hopefully, it will come. That's actually the eventual goal of all of this that is happening in the industry. But there are definitely templates to get a quick start. That's why we can get this up and running for you in a week or two, right? 8 months.
I'm also asking you open question. I'm asking people like if they have any specific use cases which they want to talk about and then implement this thing. One more thing which I also wanted to ask and specifically is like um, how how do you also take context out of a buyer journey, including something like G2 and their website and other this thing, and then convert that into a kind of like set of questions which they can ask in the AE discovery call? Or like, can they be kind of pre-prepared itself in the call so that they don't need to do a discovery call separately and a demo call? They can have a single discovery plus demo call. Is there any kind of optimization? Because the reason why I'm bringing this up is like one of the major complaints for most uh, large ACV products when the AE comes on the call is it's very difficult to get them on the call. And if even if they come on the call, they spend the first 1 hour on discovery, then set up another call, then set up another call. It's just basically, I just want to buy, just let me know fast. And the AE on the other hand says that I have to do the brand criteria, I have to do the discovery properly. If I don't do the discovery properly, I'll be stuck with an unnecessary deal and other thing I can put in mind. So is there a way where like we can bring this kind of alignment in with your AI agents?
No, it's a good question. I think the one of the things we've been experimenting with is the ability to generate like a one-page brief on an account, right? Given all the context that we've collected for your prospect. And that brief is essentially what you pick up. And these are all the deeper questions that you've already asked, right? For example, in that manufacturing example, right? Do they have a plant in a certain location? Right? What are they producing? Which products of mine can I sell them? So if you have like a quick overview of that, at least you go with a point of view in that call, right? Not starting from scratch, and just validate what you have learned, which will also give the opportunity to the buyer on the other side to actually appreciate the research that has already gone in, right? So to your point, yes, it can definitely be shortened with the technology available today. And I think there are early signs that this is going to be successful.
Got it. That's great. And one last thing, which is something which is more of a recent phenomenon now. HubSpot has launched Note Taker as well. And this would be a Gong competitor. And note takers have always been a huge source of kind of lot of contextual information and a lot of discussion items like how confident they are about the deal, how interested they want to buy, when they want to buy, who else they are evaluating, etc. Have you worked on any similar workflows where like you're able to bring in the Gong API or an Olubot or any other, even a HubSpot note taker API and other this thing, and to kind of like build kind of a relevant account scoring or a deal scoring kind of the thing, and even revenue forecasting kind of models?
No, makes sense. This is a very, very relevant use case because this is like a goldmine of unstructured data, right? Coming in.
And that's exactly,
especially your first party unstructured data, which feeds directly to the account. I think completely is right in the ballpark as a use case for us. So it will basically become like a signal source of unstructured data. You come in, you clean it up, figure out, extract the key elements of it, and put it in the profile. So next time when they visit the website, right, and somebody identifies them, you can then pick up that context and maybe improve the messaging and segmentation that goes out back to them.
Got it. That's great. Cool. We are almost on time. I just wait for some more. I think there's another question from Ishita as well. Okay, that's more like Ishita is answering the questions around this thing. Any other experiences, Mohit? I mean, you have also been in very large companies like Adobe. And this is one question which always comes more from VCs and all those things, like why can't Adobe do this?
Yeah. It's an excellent question. If Adobe would have done it, we wouldn't have left Adobe. Let me put it that way. Right? I think the challenge, we overestimate the ability of large companies to disrupt themselves. I don't think they can disrupt themselves so easily. They are excellent, organizations with outstanding people, with obviously great businesses. But new technology and the rate at which new technology emerges sometimes becomes very hard for them to react to. Right. So at some point in the future, once this is stable, maybe large companies will figure out a solve. But I think by then, the deep domain knowledge that startups would have built would keep us ahead.
No, that's kind of like, this is also a question which people are like, okay, in a sense, it's like they also get it. It's like, okay, this should be a for example, something like email sequencing. This should be available in HubSpot. No, there needs to be something like Smart Leader and Instantly to solve for it. Multiple inboxes, getting things, or this should be solved for pretty easily. It's like the context is, and especially in more senior execs who don't have the ground level experience and other things, this comes naturally. Kind of like we have already paid for X software. Why should I use another software to do this?
Yes, no,
Or
I
make
agree.
them talk better.
I agree. I mean, if you look at it, right, there are a lot of categories. Like marketing automation should have solved it. Like marketers should have solved this, right? They haven't, right? Simply because they've been focused on the inbound. And we were at Adobe, so we know Marketo very well, right? So Marketo was built in early 2000s. Account-based thing was not a big thing then, right? So accounts were never a first. So I think that's, even though we feel they should have done it, I think there are some structural pain points that some of these legacy players will have, which may cause challenges in the way for.
Actually, you made a very interesting point. It's something like there is a tech debt.
Yes.
In large companies, and it's very hard to overcome that.
Absolutely.
Eventually to kind of like make use of new technology, something like whether it's agents or operators or LLMs or even ETL, reverse ETL plays, which are there.
It's very hard. Like even at Adobe, right? Adobe, we were one of the first CDP products in the market, right? And CDP as a category was emerging 2017 timeframe. We were able to do this because the company actually built out a separate team fully from scratch, right? Otherwise, it becomes extremely hard for large organizations to pivot and to move fast at the pace with the technology.
Got it. This makes sense. And thanks a lot. We are just in time, but this was very, very useful. And I think even like sub snippets of this in terms of individual case studies itself will be like very awesome. For folks here, Tapestro is one of the emerging GTM orchestration companies, specifically around the agentic space, which is there. And if you want to reach out to Mohit or the Tapestro team, you can clearly reach out to him over LinkedIn or go on to the Tapestro website and sign up. We are partners with them, not just because like they are kind of like so great, but we also work closely with them in a very complementary fashion in multiple places where signals plus agentic orchestration comes together. So we also very specifically for all our customers recommend Tapestro as well as one of the GTM orchestration partners as well. And if any of our customers are here, please do kind of consider Tapestro if you want to construct or orchestrate specific custom agentic workflows. Thank you.
Thanks, Sri. Excellent. Thank you for the time. Great chat, Sri. Would love to connect again once you're in the Bay Area.
And just